into Bulls games because they realize that at some point the Bulls may break this team up.
DeRozan and LaVine both.
And they're all gathering intelligence. What's going to happen to the Bulls?
I'm not mad at this. He can knock down a three. He can push the rock. He's complimentary. He's enough of a star to really play alongside.
He's your third guy, not your 1A, but your third.
That is a championship team.
He's also got a contract that is a little bit prohibitive,
left.
so that maybe the Bulls wouldn't say this. The Bulls right now would say, no, we're going to keep Zach, but the cost for him on the market might not be outrageous.
But don't you think they want to get out from under that contract? Given
Yes,
that team.
I think the Bulls should have started a rebuild 20
trade deadline. So here's the situation. According to Joe Conley, who covers the Chicago Bulls in Chicago, said there is a pecking order on the market, and what the Bulls are fighting is LaVine's previous reputation with his contract over the player and person he has evolved into today. The line needs to move and move quickly. So the Bulls are kind of stuck with Zach LaVine right now, despite admittedly how well he's playing. He's playing some of his best basketball of his career. 24 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 4.4 assists right now for Zach LaVine while shooting, look at that, good Lord, 52% from the field, 44% from three. Now, it's fair to look at that and be skeptical that that's actually sustainable. I mean, we're talking career highs in both field goal and three-point percentage. But Zach LaVine is flat out getting it done right now for the Bulls, for a Bulls team that, as much as they may want, it's in their DNA for some reason in Chicago to push for the play-in. Really, the best thing for them would be to tank. That would be the best thing for them, especially since their draft pick is only top 10 protected. And right now, it looks like they're on the verge of losing that. Should they lose the pick, that doesn't help the Western Conference at all. In fact, it would send that top 10 protected pick, if it falls, say, 11th or so, it would get into the hands of the San Antonio Spurs, who already have Victor Wembanyama and certainly don't need any more help. You look around the league, though, that's happening with a number of teams right now. We've also got OKC currently would be picking up a draft pick from the Philadelphia 76ers. You've also got Houston would be picking up right now the 11th pick from the Phoenix Suns. Again, that's one West team to another West team, but Philly sending a lottery pick to OKC. Chicago, potentially, if they fall to the point where their pick is, say, 11th or later, sending that over to San Antonio. No more. We don't need more of that in the Western Conference. East teams, keep your picks. Build your team. Stop building up these young clubs in the Western Conference. But the Lakers were a team that were reportedly in on Zach LaVine at one point. So right now, despite how well Zach LaVine is playing, teams are just not interested in his contract. That's the issue, according to Joe Cowley, as well as his reputation as being a player who gets injured a lot. So far, he's been able to stay pretty healthy this season. Now, the Sun-Times says there was light momentum in trade talks with Denver. We heard about something around Zach LaVine and Michael Porter Jr., but also said there was early season talk about Zach LaVine and the Lakers, but the puzzle didn't have the right pieces at the time. With Los Angeles moving the D'Angelo Russell contract a few weeks ago for Dorian Finney-Smith, the puzzle was all but thrown in the garbage. So remember, Zach LaVine is, even as well as he's playing, he's probably overpaid. Now, he's not nearly as overpaid as he used to be. At one point, you looked at this contract and you think, oh my gosh, this thing is an anchor. This is going to weigh down any team. Look, if you believe that the Zach LaVine we're seeing right now is going to be what he is moving forward, then he's probably pretty close to worth this contract. He's at $43 million this season. They've got him at $46 million next season, and then a player option. And we know Rob Pelinka loves those. A player option at almost $49 million for a third season here. So would it have been impossible for the Lakers to make that trade? No, but in order to get there, remember, the Lakers have to send out more salary than they take back in any trade because they are a tier 1 apron team. So that would require the Lakers to stack up a bunch of salaries in order to make it work, in order to go get a player like Zach LaVine. Again, incredibly talented, no question. One of the best scorers in the NBA, absolutely. The three-point shooting would certainly be welcome, having another weapon like that on the offensive end. You could make the argument that the Lakers could certainly use a Zach LaVine. But now, without D'Angelo Russell's $18 million expiring contract, which they used to go get Dorian Finney-Smith, it's going to be a lot more difficult to try to make a deal work. Now, very clearly, the Bulls are very willing to move on from Zach LaVine. They're ready to move on. Now, are they going to give up any assets in order to get him off their team? No. They're not going to give up things just to move Zach LaVine, but they would be willing to trade him. And he's on the kind of contract that, well, teams are going to be hesitant to trade for. So let's see what the Lakers would have to do. You'd have to stack up Rui Hachimura, Dorian Finney-Smith. You can't re-aggregate in a trade. Gabe Vincent, adding him into the mix, that still only gets us at like $28 million, and we have to get to essentially $44 million. Even then, let's go Jared Vanderbilt. Will the Bulls want Jared Vanderbilt? Probably not, with 3 years remaining on his deal. Again, we got to get Gabe Vincent in there. And then, I mean, we're still well short. We're still well short of getting to Zach LaVine numbers here. But let's go with Jalen Hood-Schifino. We'll throw him into the mix. So now we've got 4 players stacked up in terms of who the Lakers are realistically willing to part with. That still doesn't work. All right, let's throw in Austin Reeves. I know the Lakers wouldn't want to do it. Take out JHS. There you go. That's what it would take now to get there for the Lakers to get to Zach LaVine. Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt. I just don't see the Lakers going to those lengths to get Zach LaVine. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's a good player, somebody that can give you something on the offensive end and can give you that firepower that I think the Lakers could need. I mean, think about it. Their scoring issues off the bench would be a thing of the past if they had Zach LaVine, but that's just too much depth to give up. Specifically right now, Gabe, he's important for this team. Clearly, he's somebody that can help this team, but we've also seen long stretches where he's been, we've called him Captain Cardio, where he's out there putting up zeros across the stat sheet. The last few weeks, though, he's been better. Austin, though, has clearly become an engine for this Lakers team, and so putting him into a trade would be tough. And then Rui Hachimura, you're giving up some of your wing depth as well. Jared Vanderbilt, on the verge of returning, but again, I don't think the Bulls want to take on the remaining 3 years on his deal, including a player option, because who knows if he's going to stay healthy or not. And then from the Lakers side, I think it's too much depth to give up here. So the Lakers and Bulls don't appear to be ideal trade partners at this point on a Zach LaVine trade. Now, who knows? Maybe something crazy happens with a 3-team deal or something like that. But I think the more likely scenario to look at with the Chicago Bulls, because Zach LaVine, as talented as he is, I think a lot of teams simply do not want the contract. They don't want to take on that long-term deal. It's a problem. It's something that, is he worth it or not? He is playing much better this season, but still, the bottom line is he's probably your third best player on a really good team. If you want to be a really good team anyway, he needs to be your third best player. If he's your first best player, if he's your best player, your second best player, you're probably just an okay team. And that's not what the Lakers want. Now, he would be the third best player on a Lakers team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but the problem is they wouldn't have any depth around him. And with how much the salary would take up, you would have very, very limited avenues to actually build anything around those 3 guys. And in fact, we're seeing it right now in the NBA. You're seeing it with the Phoenix Suns. What happens if you just kind of say, well, we don't care about the new CBA. We're going to go all in anyway, and we're going to have 3 high-priced players. How difficult of a situation that can be unless those 3 players fit perfectly. Now, I do think Zach LaVine, LeBron, and AD would fit pretty well together. I think better than the Phoenix trio would, but Zach LaVine's defensive issues would be certainly a concern. And that's why the Lakers ultimately went with Dorian Finney-Smith, is they wanted to see what he could do defensively for this team. Give somebody that can space the floor, can defend multiple positions, and get more back towards that build that we saw